When people talk about Wonder Man, I think he still gets underrated because his name sounds a little old school, and because he's not usually the first Marvel powerhouse people bring up. Most people jump to Hulk, Thor, Scarlet Witch, Silver Surfer, or Sentry, but if you actually look at the comics, Wonder Man belongs a lot higher in the Marvel hierarchy than casual fans usually put him. Simon Williams has an ionic energy body with strength in excess of 100 tons, extreme durability, flight, huge stamina, and the ability to survive without food, water, air, or even normal aging. So right away that tells you he is not a street level hero, not a mid-tier Avenger, and not just some support player. He is firmly in the heavyweight class. The best way to place Wonder Man is this. He is above heroes like Captain America, Black Panther, Daredevil, Hawkeye, Wolverine, and the straight power fight. Spider-Man in terms of raw strength and durability, and most of the standard X-Men in a pure physical matchup. He is also generally above characters like Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and The Thing, if the question is overall physical power plus survivability. Once you get above that level, then you start getting into his real comparison group, which is characters like Hercules, Captain Marvel, Vision, Blue Marvel, Thor, Hulk, Sentry, Silver Surfer, and Scarlet Witch. That is the room Wonder Man belongs in. He's not hanging around the bottom half of Marvel power rankings. He's up near the top, just not at the very top. If I had to give him a rough placement in the Marvel hierarchy, I would say Wonder Man is just below the absolute monster tier. Above him, I would put characters like Scarlet Witch because of reality warping and magic, Silver Surfer because of the power cosmic, Sentry because his power is potentially virtually limitless when stable, Hulk because he is usually one of Marvel's ultimate raw strength monsters, and Thor because he combines god-tier physical power with weather control, energy projection, and centuries of battle skill. So if you wanted a rough ranking window, Wonder Man sits around the bottom edge of Marvel's elite powerhouse tier, not at the center of the universe, but definitely close to the top shelf. And that's where the nuance comes in. Wonder Man is not really a character whose peak power suddenly turns him into a cosmic abstract or a reality warper. His peak does make him more dangerous, but it mostly makes him harder to kill, harder to contain, and weirder to fight because his ionic nature becomes more unstable and more energy-like. In his expanded ionic state, Simon could do things beyond just punching hard, like reform himself, alter his size, and use energy in stranger ways. So his peak version is definitely more threatening than his baseline, but even then, he still feels like an elite physical and energy powerhouse rather than someone who jumps into Scarlet Witch or Silver Surfer territory. That is why Wonder Man's ranking does not totally change between regular and peak versions. His ceiling goes up, but not enough to move him into a completely different class. Now, if you want to know why Wonder Man ranks this high, the biggest reason is his actual feat list. One of his best and most important wins comes in West Coast Avengers issue 25, where Simon defeats Abomination. This is a big feat because Abomination is usually treated as a Hulk level bruiser, or at the very least a major gamma powerhouse. So when Wonder Man beats Abomination, that is one of the clearest examples that Simon can beat serious top end physical threats, not just average supervillains. Wonder Man's fighting its Abomination is one of Simon's biggest combat accomplishments, and that is one of the biggest pieces of evidence for putting him in that upper Avenger heavyweight tier. His other huge win comes in Avengers 2010 issue 31, when Wonder Man defeats Red Hulk. This is probably the cleanest high-end Wonder Man victory if you want one named opponent that really sells his power level. Red Hulk is one of those characters who is usually treated as a top-tier powerhouse, and Simon took him down. That means Wonder Man is not only hanging around the same conversation as Hulk adjacent characters, he has actually beaten one. That feat is probably the single best quick argument for anyone who says Wonder Man belongs much lower than he actually does. Then you have the West Coast Avengers Annual Issue 2, which is one of Wonder Man's most important scaling issues because that is where he goes toe to toe with Thor. Now, this is not a clean Wonder Man win, and I want to be clear about that. But the reason this issue matters so much is because it shows that Simon can stand in that class. Thor is one of Marvel's top gods with immense strength, durability, lightning control, and Mjolnir on top of that, and Wonder Man still pushes him into a real fight. So even though Wonder Man does not beat Thor there, the fact that this issue is always brought up in Marvel's own Wonder Man coverage tells you a lot about how Marvel sees him. He's being measured against Thor, not being scaled against random mid-tier heroes. There are also smaller but still meaningful wins that help round out the picture. In Vision and the Scarlet Witch, issue 2, Wonder Man defeats Grim Reaper, which is important both because Grim Reaper is his brother and because it shows Simon can win emotional, personal battles as well as brute force fights. In Wonder Man issue 1 from his solo series, he defeats Sandman, which is not as impressive as Red Hulk or Abomination, but still shows he can handle established Marvel villains. Those are not the feats people use to put him near Thor or Hulk, but they do matter when you're building the full resume. So to kind of step back and build the full hierarchy, Wonder Man clearly beats Marvel's lower and middle tiers. He beats street level characters, most standard Avengers without god tier power, and most pure bruisers beneath the Hulk Thor class. But once you get to the next most powerful group, that is where he starts to lose ground. Scarlet Witch has reality warping and actual magic. Silver Surfer has the power cosmic. Sentry has absurd power tied to his mental stability. Thor has god tier strength plus Mjolnir and elemental power. Hulk is usually written with one of the highest physical ceilings in Marvel. That is why Wonder Man is extremely high tier, but not the final boss of Marvel power rankings. So my final answer on Wonder Man's power level is this. Wonder Man is one of Marvel's most underrated powerhouse characters. He's a legit upper tier Marvel heavy hitter with a body built for endurance, punishment, and sustained battle. So he's not just strong. His best wins, especially Abomination and West Coast Avengers issue 25 and Red Hulk and Avengers issue 31, prove he can defeat major powerhouses. His fight with Thor and West Coast Avengers Annual issue 2 proves he can at least compete with the gods. He still sits just below that next most powerful group of Hulk, Thor, Sentry, Silver Surfer, and Scarlet Witch. That means Wonder Man is not the strongest hero in Marvel, but he is absolutely closer to the top than most people think.